before anybody says anything, if Hideo Kojima did something like this, if he came out and said, look, we're producing this game and we're releasing it only in the Epic Store because they're going to support the developers and support the publishers more than Steam is, every one of you would support him and say how brave he is for taking that stance against Steam and corporate greed and all that other stuff. And then you would talk about how he's a trailblazer and how brave he is. So don't give me any of that shit. It's Pleb Talk! What's up, Plebheads? I'm Neo, joined here tonight by my brother,
Jdog.
Time for the discussion of the week. That's right. This is a pretty hot button issue right now, Jdog. The Steam Store Epic store debacle going on with Metro Exodus. So we had a couple requests from subscribers that we give our thoughts on this.
Let's just give our thoughts on the whole thing in general.
Sure. I know I was discussing it during the live stream with a few of the subs. My stance on it, and this probably won't be the popular stance, but as a business decision by the publishers, I understand it.
Yeah, so, alright, so let's just break it down a little bit and talk about what exactly we have here. So Steam is Valve's platform, right? Yes. It's this online gaming store. Pretty much everybody I know that plays PC games uses it.
Yep.
Right? It has every game on it, for every genre, every this, every that, it seems, right?
Yeah.
You go on there, you buy it, you got your customer reviews going on.
Yep. Refunds.
Refund policy, which is nice. And it's aggregated, right? So one of the great things about Steam, or I think one of the things that is probably most beneficial about it, is just the way that it aggregates your library. It's like your client, right? It launches whatever game you want to play, and it's kind of user-friendly from that perspective, right? So, okay. Cool. And Steam's kind of got a pretty big handle on this market.
Yeah, it's got X years of
history. Except for maybe EA for the most part with its Origin store or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't think of a ton of games that weren't on there, right? I know. So, and then you have Epic coming in here, which basically I think is feeling relatively emboldened because of Fortnite, right? So, in order to download Fortnite, you need this Epic Games client, basically, or this Epic store. That's where you go get it. And, okay, Fortnite's massively popular, got a huge player base.
Yep.
So, they kind of got an in onto all these people's computers already, or PCs. So, okay. So where does this all kind of go from, right? You have Valve, you have Steam taking 30%,
give or take,
approximately, of each sale.
Yep.
From the publisher. So if you charge $60 for your game on PC, that means that Valve or Steam or whatever is taking $18 of that. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you're left with $42 of your $60 game when you sell it. Okay? And then you have Epic coming in and saying, hey, guys, come be on our platform exclusively. We're going to take 12%. So on a $60 game, that would be $7.20. So you'd be left with $52.80. I think my math is right there. So that definitely gets me interested. Now, if Epic was to come out and say, hey, we're only going to take 25%, and I think this is where the discussion really gets interesting, right? If Epic comes out and says, hey, we're only going to take 25%, I don't think a lot of these publishers are going to pay it a second mind, right? They're not going to say, well, we're going to forego what Steam has built up and Steam's community and Steam's, basically intrusion, so to speak, onto every PC on the planet, right? I don't know any gamer that doesn't use it, right? We're not going to forgo that for an extra 5%. You start talking 18%, people start listening.
Yep.
Okay?
18%
You don't
is a
make
lot of
18% on anything.
No, 18%
Right?
is a lot of money.
18% is big money. I mean, how many copies of Metro Exodus do they expect to sell? 100,000 at $60? More than 100,000 at $60?
$50 on PC.
$50, whatever. Okay, let's say it's $50. It's 100,000 copies. How much money is that? That's $5 million. I think my math is right. Hoping my math is right, but I'm pretty sure it's $5 million. And now we start talking about 18% of $5 million. Now we're starting to talk real money. And that's where this discussion gets interesting. Now, as a gamer, I don't necessarily like it.
Yep, and there needs to be a differentiation in this discussion between as a gamer and as a businessman.
Because here's what's going to happen. I think you're going to see more of this, unfortunately. And that's
I expect to see
that's
more.
probably going to be later in the discussion, but usually competition is good for the customer. Usually.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in this case, I'm not sure if it's going to be. Because what I think we're going to end up with is a fractured library, right? And a fractured ecosystem. It's possible this ends up being good for publishers. And as the end users of their products, we should want publishers to be successful and profitable. We really should.
Yes.
Because if they're not, they're going to get shut down and they're not going to keep making games. So if we really like the games they make, we should want them to be successful. It's like when you go to a favorite restaurant and, you get a meal there and you really enjoy it, you don't leave thinking, God, I hope these guys shut down. Right? You hope they expand.
Yeah.
You hope business is booming. You want to go back. So we want publishers to be successful. There's no doubt about it. And I can certainly understand it from their perspective where, am I going to take a 12% cut or am I going to take a 30% cut?
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to take a 12% cut if I can do it. And if you're exclusive and you make a great product that people want to play, and the Epic Store, we've bought a few games on there. We got Subnautica for free, and we just bought the Below Zero DLC from it. Works pretty fucking good.
I haven't had any problems.
I don't have an issue with it.
Nope.
So the actual use of it, at least initially, seemed fairly decent.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like the games crash on launch or, the client doesn't open or some other nonsense.
Yep.
We've had pretty successful interaction with it.
Yep.
So, I think you're going to see a little more competition coming into this market, and you're going to see this thing heat up a little bit over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
This is like the Netflix Amazon thing with streaming video.
Yep.
That's what I'm seeing here. And usually a rising tide will lift all boats. Competition will be good, but in a lot of ways, sometimes you've got to have an Amazon subscription and a Netflix subscription if you want the best of. You don't both have the same things. So that means you're going to have to probably manage more than one client, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that's a reality that the sooner you accept and the sooner you come to terms with, you're going to be okay. You're gonna
realize that it's not as big of a deal as you
that
think.
it's not that big of a deal.
So I want to go back and I just kind of want to elaborate on what I said right at the start of the video. I want to talk about my siding with the devs and the publisher.
Yeah, I don't blame them at all.
I'm with them 100%. Not because I want everybody to have to download different launchers or integrate Epic Store or any of that stuff, but from a business standpoint, speaking purely from a business standpoint, I'm not speaking from a gamer or a consumer standpoint. That has nothing to do with the statement. But from a business standpoint, I 100% agree with it. And I think it's the only right choice for them. I do. I really do. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to the almighty dollar.
Yeah.
And people don't like hearing that sometimes, but it is a fact.
Yeah, well, what you look at is, okay, Metro Exodus, right? This is a game that's going to be well known, right? It's not like Metro's a new IP that they're trying to get out to every single person.
Third game now.
It's a relatively known series.
Yep.
Fans of the first games are going to buy it.
Yep.
Right? So, they're like, well, think of how many extra copies they have to sell if they're giving up 30% versus 12%. And you do those numbers, and again, assuming that this game is going to sell well, which, okay, let's say it does. I'm not sure the sales numbers on the first couple of games, but they've had many years to build up a fan base on those games. So you can imagine that this game will end up selling relatively well, I would say.
Yep.
And you start talking about 18% on multiple millions of dollars. Now you are really talking big money. That can be the difference between that studio being able to
expand,
get
bigger, grow,
work on other projects, or no longer exist.
Yep.
And that type of money starts discussions between the C-suites, so to speak, about where they're going to put these games.
And and people talk about, well, shame on the publishers for being greedy, and shame on this and shame on that. I don't think so. I don't call for shame on them.
Yeah, there is no shame in trying to get paid for your hard work. We work for a living. We expect to be paid for it.
Yeah.
No shame in that. So,
what did I just tell you during our business meeting today?
We're there to get paid.
We're there to get paid. I have no other reason to be there.
Yep. So, look, call it what you want, but at the end of the day, I don't know anybody that goes to work and doesn't expect a paycheck. So, to expect developers to put years into making a game and then give up 18% extra than they have to is nonsense.
Yep. And I agree with you on that.
Now, do I think the Epic Store could be better? Yes.
No, absolutely.
And some of the things, like for instance, having kind of a weird, or I would say it felt like maybe what we were reading was a little bit of a challenging refund process.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. Again, Steam does have some of this stuff set up very, very user-friendly.
Of course, years and years of trial and error, testing and practice behind it, too.
So, you're right. And they do have a head start in that degree.
Yes, they do.
But, a refund policy, I think, with the way Steam does it, it's kind of an expected thing, first off. I think Epic is going to have one that's a little easier to use, maybe. And this whole nonsense of no customer reviews. Again, it's something people kind of expect to see. Yeah. Whether you're shopping on Amazon or wherever it is you're shopping on, I don't go to too many online sites without customer reviews. I want to see what other people think, right? I was just downloading an app today off my phone, and that thing's got user reviews on it. I like to see what real users think. So, why not? Obviously, I don't need to see what Game Informer bullshits, and I don't need to see what IGN bullshits. They're always going to be positive about the game. That's what they get paid to do. So I like to see what real players think.
My thing is though, looking at the reviews and looking at the review scores, I don't know. Some people have been bringing up the topic of it's censorship to not allow us to have reviews. I don't know. I feel like that. I feel like there's an extreme to everything. I feel like there's an extreme viewpoint to everything. I want to get your thoughts on that, Jdog.
Well, I mean, look, censorship is more like if they allowed some reviews and then, didn't allow others, right? Only allowed positive ones and didn't allow negative ones. That would be more what would upset me. If they say, we're not going to do any customer reviews at all, then you need to know that going into it, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're going to use that, then you need to be okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, again, as a user of the Epic Store, I would like to see user reviews there. And I will draw my own conclusions on whether or not I agree with them or don't agree with them. I know before I buy a game on Steam, I read through many, many user reviews. I like to get a vibe of what the community thinks. Yeah. So that's important to me.
Especially when we're talking about an indie game or a game from a studio that maybe we're not so sure about.
Yeah. Now, Metro, of course, is a game we're pretty sure on, so I'm probably going to buy it either way, right? But I certainly would be, if it's a newer title, something I'm unsure about, something that's maybe from a developer I'm not sure about, or from an IP I'm not sure about, I want to see user reviews on that. I want to get like I said, a vibe from the player base on what I should expect, and then I'll draw my own conclusion on what I'm going to do, if I'm going to buy it or not. But to not include the reviews, I think just from a player standpoint is kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why they'd make that decision, to be honest with you, but hopefully they'll change it.
Well, there's already been talks that is coming. In more of a, I don't, balance is the wrong word, but they're talking it's going to be more of like you can opt in as a dev or publisher. You can opt into it. They're talking about wanting to prevent things like review bombing, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
which, funny thing, we're talking about Metro because that's one of the examples that they used of how people are, trashing the publishers, trashing all that for their decision to go to Epic Games store.
I do really, really question that in a lot of ways, because I know when I read reviews and people write on there, this game gets a 1 out of 10 because it's only available on Epic Store, is a nonsense review that you don't actually consider in your purchase decision.
To me, that has no credibility.
Yeah, it's a no credibility review.
Yep.
So if somebody writes a review that's actually well thought out and discusses why they do and don't like the game, that goes into my credible review part of my brain that I keep in mind when I think about if I'm going to buy the game. This was kind of a thing that happened with No Man's Sky, right? A lot of people just review bombed the fuck out of it. I think they probably had a lot better case for that specific game than you would for Metro. But at the end of the day, people have got to be able to use information and make their own decision. And I'm a big fan of having information available and being able to make my own decision from that information. And hey, once I make, and then they still allow a refund, I believe, or hopefully they will.
It's a process.
Yeah, it's a little bit of
a process. It is a process.
So
got to have an invoice ID and this, that, and the other thing, and it's a little bit more complicated.
So hopefully they would get that better.
Yes, that needs to be more automated like Steam.
And that way you still get 2 hours, and if you hate the damn thing, you get rid of it. I mean, hey, not the worst thing. Again, buyer happiness as a consumer, right? I want to feel good about what I buy. These are $50 and $60 purchases.
It's not peanuts.
It's not, money that's just growing on trees. I mean, you work for that. So I want to feel good about my purchase. Again, do I think Epic becomes my go-to store here over the next 6 months? No, I don't think that. I don't think it's my go-to store. But they are getting some games that I do want to play. So I think this gets interesting over the next year. I really do. We'll have to see.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to have Pleb Talk 16 or Pleb Talk 20 be an update discussion on
that. Yeah, I definitely see this getting interesting. I just do. I'm not sure.
So, Jdog, I want to wrap everything up here, just kind of as we've been, breaking things down and giving our thoughts on things. Let's kind of cover it one more time as a whole. Just your thoughts from maybe a developer-publisher standpoint of them signing an exclusivity deal with Epic.
Well, I don't blame them, first off, and I don't hold it against them.
Yep.
Because the amount of money is substantial. Publishers make games to get paid, right?
Yep.
And, you're not talking a percent or two here. You're talking legitimate 18% difference. And that is a substantial amount of money.
A shit ton.
So, again, I don't blame them from a business perspective. Publishers, people that work on games, that's their job. They deserve to be paid for that job. So,
I think from a gamer standpoint, I think we're in agreement on this. From a gamer standpoint, it can kind of lead to some bad things sometimes. And, especially when you do start talking about multiple launchers, you start talking about a fractured library. So I think definitely gamers have a maybe reason to think about that. I was going to say reason to be concerned, but I think that's what really, that's trying to make it sound worse than it is. I think they have a reason to have an open dialogue about this and be knowledgeable about it.
Yeah, like I said, I liken it to the Netflix, Amazon, Hulu thing. that's probably what's going to happen here, guys. You know, you can love it, you can hate it, but that's what I think this is going to go. Because I'm surprised personally that Steam's been like the only store.
I was thinking that too.
As long as it has been.
Just before Epic launched, I was thinking that too. Like,
I mean, what nobody else can create one of these?
Yeah.
This doesn't look like, you know, I mean, look at what's being created in the world and the way technology is. And, you know, you got some kid in college creating Facebook, and you're telling me that nobody else can create a store? So that's kind of the stuff that I see, and I'm like, I'm surprised it's the only one specifically. Or maybe there's been other attempts and they just haven't been successful. And again, you look at it from Epic's perspective. I mean, they're kind of into most PCs because of Fortnite. So they've got an in. And it makes sense for them to go after this.
Yeah.
Again, hard to say. I think we need to probably get okay with this because I don't see this changing personally.
Let me ask you this. Do you see Steam adopting lower royalty rates?
I think they'll have to.
You think they're going to...
I think they'll have to because I do think... I mean, you see Ubisoft's Division 2 going over here now.
Now, did they sign exclusivity too?
I'm not sure 100%, but you see it on here.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I think you're going to see competition heat up here if Steam loses too many games. And again, I could be way off on this. I could be.
Could be a flash in the pan.
Could be a flash in the pan. I just, like I said, Epic, Fortnite, they're leveraging that popularity. I get it. I see this potentially happening. I do. Again, competition it ends up being good usually, and it can end up being good for publishers.
Yep.
And again, you gotta understand, publishers got to get paid. They got to make money.
There's a difference between the business feelings and the personal gamer feelings.
Yeah. As
and
a gamer,
those feelings have to be separated.
As a gamer, we just want to open our PC, have our library, and play what game we want. I get it.
Game, yep.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, totally get it. But you know, from a business perspective, that's not necessarily what you care about, for the most part.
Yeah.
You got to get as much of that $60 of that game as you can.
Yeah. If you can get 42 versus 52, what? 52.80?
Yeah, that's significant.
Sorry.
$10 more on a copy.
Sorry, I'm getting 52.80.
On 100,000 copies, that's $1 million.
Sorry. Not sorry.
So,
yeah. You know, I'd be really curious to see what the Plebs watch and think. You guys give us your thoughts on this whole debate, whole discussion. Like the video if you enjoyed the honest breakdown discussion and our thoughts. And we'll see each and every one here right here next time for another episode of Pleb Talk.
thanks for watching, everyone. Good night.
GG, you plebs.